I feel like this is the most underrated things in AI right now. No one's talking about it. So there's a guy on Twitter, pitch deck guy. He goes and he scrapes SEC filings when people launch a new fund or anything, and he will do cold outreach to them and say, hey, congratulations. I'd love to make a pitch deck for you. Here's my portfolio. What does he charge? $3,500. Nick, Manus has an API that could be fully automated as of today.
You're just like giving value to them right away.
It's genius.
Oh my gosh, that's a great idea. How easy would it be?
At first I was like, this is just deep research. No, here's what Perplexity Labs does. How do we make money on this? Okay, so I am chock full of ideas today, but I have one that's literally 10 minutes old. Like I just bought the domain name 10 minutes ago and Replit is building it literally as I speak because I just can't wait. I'm not gonna lie, Nick, you kind of inspired this idea.
Oh, am I going to be offended by this?
No, you're not.
Okay.
So recently on your podcast, Nickonomics, you've been asking people every day how are they using AI, right?
It's true.
And so I've just been thinking of that question. How are you using AI? How are you using AI? And it's like, I feel like that's going to become a standard question over the next decade, right? With like, what do you do for work? What do you do for work? What, like that question will never get old, but instead it's going to be not let's going to replace it, but it's going to be that type of question where it's like, oh, how are you using AI? Right? Because that is the hardest part with all of this is just thinking of how to use it. Like, oh my gosh, this new feature is amazing. It's going to change the world. How do I use it? Or more importantly, where in my business or where in my life do I apply this? Because I just don't know.
And it's too much. You don't even know where to start. You don't even know which question to ask to get started. Like, okay, which of these tools do I even use to get started? I totally agree.
Yeah. Okay. So I went to Namecheap and I looked up how do you use AI.com and it was not taken.
No.
It was not taken. So I bought it. And then
such a good name.
It's a good name. I'm going to share my screen. And I went to Google Trends. I did this after I bought it, to be fair. And I'm sharing the Google Trends chart of the phrase, how do you use AI? It peaked, like the local peak was February, which is interesting. I think Operator came out in February. That sounds about
Operator.
right.
Yep, that sounds about right.
But it's still climbing. Like if you're just listening, it's a good looking chart. Okay. And so I started thinking, and this is literally 10 minutes old. So this is probably a bad idea at this point, but you'll help me make it a good one, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not thinking of $1 billion idea right now. I'm just thinking of a wrapper, some sort of a website, a gimmicky website, maybe a newsletter, something. This is what I have Replit building me right now. Can I read you the prompt?
Yes.
Okay. I want to build a website where people can merely submit ideas to others of how they are using AI. This is the key. But you can only see everyone else's use cases once you submit your own use case. And then you can upvote others' ideas of how to use AI after you submit your own. So it's like you have to give to the system before you get back from the system.
You got to give.
You got to give. Did you give? And then they can subscribe to be notified of all the top upvoted ways people are using AI every week. So upvotability, you can't see anything on the website and when you go to the website, it's just an open cursor box, just like you see on Replit or ChatGPT or anything. And you could type in ABCD and get something. It doesn't matter, right? And then once you type it in, you can see a bunch of use cases. You can upvote, yada, yada, yada. And then as like a newsletter play or an email capture play, you could say, hey, we'll take the top 5 most upvoted ideas and email them to you every week. What do we think?
I love it. I think it's an amazing idea. It's kind of how I feel about AI, generally speaking, is it's an idea generator. I'm the guy who's in a group when we're trying to figure something out. I'll throw out the first bad idea because we kind of need that first bad idea, at least to just
second through 13th.
Maybe all of them. Maybe every idea is a bad idea.
Maybe every idea that comes up that's bad in that conversation they're all from you, for instance.
But when you're brainstorming, you need somebody to throw out something first, and then you can make a decision. It's kind of like when you're at home and your wife's like, hey, honey, do you like the blue color for this wall or the yellow color for this wall? No matter what you say, she's going to go with the opposite. It just finally gives her an opportunity to be like, yeah, I don't like that. I'm going to go the other way. Right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I view AI is I get like the first iteration from it. And I'm like, I don't like that. And then I start working with it. So I think there's a ton of demand from people just to hear how other people are using AI just for an idea that they can kind of steal and apply to their life.
Or like, if you want her to spend time with you, you say, hey, babe, do you want to spend time with Raul or myself tonight, your private tennis coach? And you always suggest Raul because then she'll hang out with you, right?
Yeah. Oddly enough, she just always tends to pick Raul. It's really weird.
There's really no correlation to what I say.
Yeah, and he always
Sometimes
goes,
she doesn't even wait for my answer.
it's like she knew
She's
what I was
gone.
thinking. Okay,
Oh,
here's why I like this idea. Again, you and I don't talk before we do these things. One of my ideas today is I love personality quizzes. I know everybody does, because you're like, I want to know which house of Gryffindor, or which house of Hogwarts I would be in. Am I Gryffindor? Am I Slytherin? And you do this personality quiz. Like my son, he wants to know which Marvel character he is. Like we all want to know what our personalities are. And I've created a few of these. So I'm going to share my screen. Hang with me for a second. I promise that this is going to make sense. I interviewed a bunch of people for my podcast, and I was just like trying to figure out what do they do with AI. And so from all of their answers, I was able to kind of understand which LLMs people use for which use cases. I went to ChatGPT and I was like, help me create this quiz based off of all of this data. And so it helped me create this quiz. I went then to Lovable, and here it is, right? This is the Entrepreneur's Guide to LLMs. Which AI model is right for your business? And there's ChatGPT, there's Claude, there's Perplexity, and there's Grok. And the quiz helps you identify which AI model aligns with your specific business goals, your ideal AI implementation strategy, and which AI tools deliver the highest ROI for your situation. You start the quiz, and then it just starts asking you questions. What's your comfort level with tech, et cetera, et cetera.
mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to go through the whole thing.
It's a great idea.
But to your point, the thing that AI is really good at right now, these LLMs, is taking a ton of data, filtering it, and kind of regurgitating it in a way that is concise. It's not yet good at creating novel ideas, but it's really good at taking a lot of information and synthesizing it and giving it to you. So along the lines of what you're talking about, I think that there are tons of opportunities to use AI to give other people ideas of how to use AI. This is one example. This will give you an idea of like, should I go with Grok? Should I go with ChatGPT? Should I go with Google? Which one of those? You go through this quiz, you answer some questions, and it just spits out a general, hey, you're not very tech savvy? Just go ChatGPT. It's the best user interface, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a million sort of niche implementation or offerings that you can create around this. How do you know yourself better? Like, I'll just go through this really quickly. I'm just going to click on some of these, blah, blah, blah. And I'll show you at the very end, this is what it looks like. And again, it's using the LLMs. Of course, I got to have a gating mechanism. You got to put in your email if you want to see your score. Boom, here's my profile. I'm the client whisperer.
Mm.
Yeah, my primary model is Claude. And then it gives me all the reasons for that, et cetera. So your idea, which is like a community of sharing idea, and in order to get into it, you've got to give, I think is freaking brilliant, because it just automatically gets people to engage. This is another type of idea playing on that. How do you get AI to reach into you and your insights and give you a recommendation of what might or might not be useful to you? And obviously, this is one way I've kind of applied it.
That is amazing. How long did this take you, realistically?
So this was the first time I did it, so it took me a couple of hours. If I were to do it now, probably an hour. Because what you have to do is I have to take all the data, synthesize it, put it in a format where then I can go to ChatGPT and say, hey, create the quiz for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then ChatGPT creates the quiz, and then I go to Lovable and I go back and forth, blah, blah, blah. And then it creates this. So it honestly doesn't take that much intellectual power. It just kind of takes some time to go through the steps. I'm sure there's a way I could even automate it. I just haven't done it.
This is beautiful.
So can I keep building on this?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So along this idea, I think there's a huge opportunity for someone to step into this space. You've heard of Dribble.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's another company, Well Found. I was doing some research, Contra. Like these are niche job boards effectively, where they're only targeting, one specific skill set. Like Dribble is very specific. These are designers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well Found, I believe, is very specific. It's like angel list job listings or something like that. So these are like VC angel listing startups. But they found a niche. They're not in everything to everybody. I think by coupling this like quiz idea with a job board, you could match job seekers and job offerers, employers with each other. That's personality based and not necessarily skill or background based, because many times you get into a position, it's like, oh, they just didn't mesh. They weren't a cultural fit. And most companies, is my belief, if they're a cultural fit, you can kind of train them on the things that you want them to do. So you could apply this, think to any niche globally. You could apply this to any niche. You could build a company that's just matching people who are digital designers for painting companies. Maybe that's too specific. But I think pretty easily you could build a wrapper, you could build a software platform, et cetera. That's like high level VC land tech opportunity. But I think for smaller companies, so for people like you and I, We could create our own internal quizzes. You're hiring people for your content team. I'm hiring people for my content team.
Like
Here's
a
a quiz.
Myers-Briggs for the culture that we want to see in our companies.
Exactly. And we have so much data about us, right? We can say like, hey, ChatGPT, create a quiz that somebody can take that will mesh with me. Hey, I don't know if you remember this, but when we started this podcast, we entered into a social contract. I would spend time, energy, and money producing this podcast, interviewing these individuals and giving you insights into how to build, buy, start, grow your business. And you would like, subscribe, and leave me 5-star review. Now, out of that, we both get to talk to really cool people and hear really cool insights. We both get a ton of value. But I just want to help you keep your word. So would you do me a favor? Will you go leave a 5-star review for me on Apple or Spotify? It would really help. And if you want, even share this with a friend.
A quiz that will prove if someone is good working for someone that's very insecure. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like that would be for you, not like
that would
not
be
me.
for me. That would be for me.
Yeah.
It's asymmetric, right? Like I don't have to pay for Myers-Briggs access. I don't have to have them log into a specific website or get credentials for it. It's like, hey, I created this wrapper, take this quiz. I want to see if we're a mesh. And at least it would give me some insights into where their strengths and weaknesses are. So that would be like an internal thing that pretty much any company pretty easily could create a wrapper that would do that.
Dude, what are you going to pay a recruiter to place someone? Like we're talking 30% of first year salary?
10 to 30%. I mean, it just depends on the role
Let's say
and
it's
the recruiter.
10.
Yeah.
$150,000 a year salary, $10,000 to place someone. Let's say you set up an automation to message everyone on LinkedIn that is in HR or in hiring. And you say, listen, I match people with HR departments based on their personality type or their culture fit. But this is very unique. I want to know exactly what your company's culture fit is. Would you mind simply taking this quick quiz? And I'm going to tell you exactly what your score is. And then worst case scenario, I send you some qualified applicants. And then that hiring decision maker, they fill this out. And it might take 10, 20 minutes. It's like a type form. You don't know when it ends. You've got sunk cost fallacy. You're just answering. And it's building like an archetype of your company, exactly the type of person that you like to hire.
Yeah.
Right. And then it spits out a result. It's like a numerical result or something. And then on the other side of that equation, you send a similar quiz that matches it up with job seekers. And then you can send notifications to the hiring managers of saying, hey, let's say it's a scale of 1 to 100. Hey, your perfect score of a perfect candidate is an 87. Look at these 87s that we just found that just filled out the same form, right? Look at these 85 to 88s that we just found. And then you could match them and place them.
Oh, dude. Okay, I'm going to go on the other side of it. This could be a massive differentiator for any company that they build their own quiz. It's like, hey, and I don't know, you're better at this than I am. I don't know how they would get people to take it, but let's say they build their own quiz. It's a lead magnet. People start taking it, and then they're just building. In order to get the quiz results, you've got to put your email in. So they're just building this list where anytime they have an open position coming up, they can go to the list and be like, oh yeah, Shonda 857, she was a 9 in these skill sets. Let's reach out to her. So let's think of a company that has a really
It's like they could white label it from us, right?
Yeah.
Like they would use it internally.
Yeah. Or let's use you as an example. How many followers do you have across platforms now?
3 million.
3 million. Let's say that you decided next week that you're like, hey guys, I built this cool quiz with AI. It only took me 20 minutes. Check it out. And it was specifically for this. Like it was asking questions about potential employees. For every video that you post, how many views do you get?
800,000.
Okay, 800,000 to a million. And let's just say 1% of those people, so 8,000 people to 10,000 people actually go and fill out the survey. You've got 10,000 people who filled out the survey with an email address that you can go at any time now to query if you're looking for a position. If you're like, oh, I need an accountant. Oh, I need a whatever, social media manager. I'm going to go look at this list right now and see how many of them actually matched with my company's culture score.
It's a no-brainer.
Dude, think about that for HR department. Even like big companies, HR departments, they could easily build this within an HR department.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
Yeah. And you don't even have to include questions about their skills. It could only be questions about their personality, you know?
Totally.
Or their preferences.
Do you ask any random questions in your interviews?
Yeah.
What are some of them?
Like historically throughout your life, what have you been like abnormally obsessed with?
One question that I always ask is, which one of these scenarios stresses you out more? Being dropped into the middle of a foreign country with no plan, no itinerary, no idea where you are, or going to a foreign country and every minute of every day that you're there is scheduled out to a T and you have no flexibility to do anything outside of what's scheduled for you. Now, which one of those would give you more stress?
This is a scheduled one for
Yeah,
sure.
it's the second one, right? Like, so usually if I'm interviewing a marketer, to be honest, if they're like, oh, the first one would stress me out more, I'm like, yeah, you're not going to be a good cold caller. Like, if you don't do good in ambiguity, I'm not. And I know like there are a lot of other factors there, but that's one of the questions that I ask. So to me, the whole quiz would be those types of questions. It's not going to be like, how would you rate yourself as a team player? Because everybody's going to answer that question the way that they think the employer wants to hear it.
That's good. That's like asking, like, because if you ask them, do you have a high tolerance for ambiguity? Absolutely, I do. But you don't really know if that's true.
Yeah.
But that's what you're really getting at, right? Like,
right. Another just quick interview question I love is it's very similar to yours. I think I stole this from My First Million, but it was like, what was the last project you spent all night working on or lost sleep over? Like, I just want to hear what they nerd out about. Like, what are you obsessed with?
That's a really interesting question. Okay. Can I go next?
Yeah.
All right. So have you played around at all with Manus's new feature of creating pitch decks?
No. I've read about it, but I have not played with it.
I feel like this is the most underrated things in AI right now. No one's talking about it. Why aren't we talking about this? I'm going to share my screen.
Well, you're pulling that up. So I've messed with GPT 4.0, right? And the PDFs and the slide decks that they can build are incredible, but you have to build them sequentially and you have to build them one at a time. It's not just going to spit out 10 slides for your slide deck. So what you're saying is Manus actually spits out the whole deck?
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap.
I'm going to share my screen. All right, so this is Manus. This is my prompt. This is the whole thing. Make a PowerPoint deck for me showing the growth of the RV park industry. Like no details, nothing. Okay. And it worked for 12 minutes and 31 seconds. And it spit out this 12 slides.
Holy crap. Where did it get that? Hold on. Go back to the first picture. Dude, I could be wrong. Have you used this picture before in an RV deck?
It looks really familiar. It looks like one that I have used, but I don't think I've used this exact one.
Okay.
But I mean, look at this.
Oh my, North American market growth, RV ownership.
This looks like the deck that I use for the same purpose.
Now, do you have this deck in Manus? Like, is it pulling from stuff you've already created, or is this
totally
on
I've
its
never
own?
even asked it about RV park stuff. Yeah, I didn't teach it anything. Isn't that crazy?
So when I use ChatGPT, it spits it out as a PDF. It's uneditable. Is this editable?
It spit it out as a PPT, as a PowerPoint.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy crap, man. So side quest here. How much are you using Manus right now?
Not that much. I just started playing around with it when this new feature came out. I was using it a month or two ago, but I just moved on.
What were you using it for a month or two ago?
It's like agentic-like features. It kind of acts like Operator, but it wasn't as good in my experience. And so when I didn't like that output, I went back to ChatGPT.
What are people using Mantis for right now?
Manus.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I think they're using it for this a lot. I don't know. It's a Chinese-owned company. And so kind of TBD on what's happening with our data here. But we'll see.
I think it'll work out, but we'll see.
How big is the pitch deck industry? It's multi-billions. The corporate world is built on
pitch decks.
Pitch decks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the modern idea conveyor that we use. Yeah.
So there's a guy on Twitter. I think he's the pitch deck guy. And his whole business, this is it. He goes and he scrapes like the filings, SEC filings, when people launch a new fund or anything, people that are about to need a really nice pitch deck. And he will do cold outreach to them in the right time, the right moment, and say, hey, I saw you launched a fund for buying single family homes. Congratulations. I'd love to make a pitch deck for you. Here's my portfolio. What does he charge? $3,500.
Love it.
And they look really good. They're really good. So, Nick, Manus has an API. Who's stopping you or anyone from building an agent or an app or anything? It could be just an automation with Gumloop or Lindy or Zapier that scrapes all those SEC filings, the funds that are launched, permissionlessly goes to Manus through the API and says, here's all the information for this fund. I want you to make a really good looking pitch deck. According to these pitch decks, I want it to have this design, and send it back to me. Boom, you get it. Then you go to Apollo or any other feature that finds people's contact information, and you cold email the pitch deck to them with watermarks that says, hey, congratulations on the fund. I made you a pitch deck. Would you like to buy this? Here's the first 5 slides. That could be fully automated as of today.
Okay, so there's the pitch deck guy, and then there's Matthew Gore. I had him on my podcast. He's the pitch deck cowboy. He has that's his business, is he builds pitch decks for people.
Yeah.
Funny story really quickly. I was on my way to Bogus Basin in Boise, Idaho. I'm buying a freaking burrito at this random place. Order it. I'm picking it up. And this guy next to me goes, are you on Twitter? And I was like, why, yes, I am. He's like, are you co-founders, Nick? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm the pitch deck guy. I'm like, wait, what? He's like, yeah. I'm the pitch deck guy. I live in Dallas, but I'm actually from Boise. So just
what
like
are the chances?
Yeah, randomly on my way up the hill, I met him, which was freaking
crazy.
Cool. Yeah, totally random. I think that the ability to convey a story is like so valuable that most people think of pitch decks as like, oh, a major presentation, or I'm trying to raise money, or it's like something super serious. I think just the ability of pitch decks to convey any idea is so valuable that, yes, there's the SEC filings, but you could permissionlessly offer this as a marketing agency, as a way to get clients. You're like, hey, Ethan Driscoll, this would be a perfect like cold outreach for him. Just to permissionlessly have Manus take all of his ideas, put them into a slide deck by scraping whatever the list is that he's created off the internet, and just generate business that way. Yeah, I love your idea. I also think there's a bunch of different applications you could use for it for cold outreach.
Dude, 2 more ideas. You heard of slideshare.net?
No.
It's either 5 or 10 million visits a month.
What the frick?
It's just a website for uploading your slides, your decks, to be hosted, to be viewed, right? So if you go to slideshare.net, you can see like Netflix's famous 125 slide presentation on culture there. And then you can also see, Econ 101 from Alabama Community College, some student group, they uploaded theirs so they could present it in class. And it has 3 views. Hundreds, if not thousands of slides are uploaded to slideshare.net every single day. This company sold to LinkedIn in 2012 for 112 million. And then they sold from LinkedIn to Scribed for, I don't know how much, it wasn't disclosed. So this is a big business. It's a 9-figure business. Why not do the same thing with that? Create a permissionless thing that anytime a new slide is uploaded to SlideShare, you revamp it, you redesign it. So instead of making one from scratch for the SEC filings, you're just redesigning them, sending them back to the original creator and saying, hey, you may like this better, you may not. If you do, buy it for $20, $200, whatever.
And automate it.
And automate it. Or, teachers paying teachers, teacherspayteachers.com. It's a place for teachers to sell their lesson plans. You could go on there.
It's such a good name. Hey, teacherspayingteachers.com. What do they do? Well, they pay teachers.
You could go on there and mass DM all the teachers that are selling lesson plans and say, hey, why don't you sell a pitch deck alongside the lesson plan? A lesson plan's great, but you'll probably sell even more if you have a pitch deck version. I'll convert that for you for $20. What are we doing?
Or anything with a lesson plan. People who teach church, let's say we have a lesson plan for Sunday. What do we typically do? We're maybe we have something on our iPad, whatever. We could just easily upload an outline and be like, hey, create a PowerPoint presentation based off of this.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about right now, dude?
What are we doing? Why
are we even talking right now? We need to be grinding, building. Oh my God.
We're wasting our time.
Maria, clear the rest of my day. I don't know how Maria is.
Oh.
Okay. Can I build off of this for a second?
Please.
All right. So it's not easy, but what you and I are talking and we're like, oh, dude, why wouldn't we do this? All we have to do, go to ChatGPT, enter this prompt, blah, 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 and then it automates here. And all of a sudden we've got a product. I still think for many people, the prompt is the hardest thing for them to get past. To think creatively enough in order to get the prompt to give you the output that you want is incredibly hard. And I found something this week that I want to share with you. It's going to be stupid simple, and you're going to make fun of me, but I think has one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten when it comes to prompting. Are you ready for it?
Yep.
All right, here we go. All right, so you've probably seen this. This was a Reddit post, and this guy's talking about how he uses the LLM to generate prompts for him. So in the example that you just gave, where you're sitting there and you're like, I want Manus to create me a slide deck based on this information. But like, how do I even give it the specific information that I want in order for it to create the slide deck? He's essentially teaching you how to create the prompt by using the LLMs to create the prompt. So the first thing that he does is he tells the LLM, generate a detailed prompt engineering guide. The audience is, let's say, graphic designers. So you can fill in the role there. And the role might look like book author, software developers, customer support, whatever. And then he pastes in 5 examples of how I want my prompt to work. So what he's doing there is he's giving it context to draw on. He's helping the LLM understand what exactly he's looking for by providing it with 5 examples of products that he really likes.
You got to give it more context, no matter what.
Got to give it more context. All right. And now, this is probably the best advice I've ever read. This next one. I then instruct it to, quote, generate a prompt that could have generated the examples outputs and include a better set of examples. Dude, that blew my mind when I read it. So he's sitting there and he's like, hey, this is who you are. You're a graphic designer. Here are 5 outputs that I really, really like. Now I want you to reverse engineer it and think of what the prompt would be that would create the outputs that you're currently seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's getting the LLM to think about, okay, what are all the different elements within the examples that are given to me that I need to get to in order for this prompt to generate something similar to what I'm seeing?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that?
It's genius. Like, I want to hang up right now and test this.
Have you read this before? I feel like
no,
this
I've
is something
never
that you...
seen this.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
It blew my mind because it's like so simple, and yet it's going to be so impactful. I've already started using it, and the outputs that I'm getting are way better than I've ever gotten before. It's pretty incredible.
How long does it take, though, to put all this together?
Which part? Like the 5 examples?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Obviously, it depends on what you're trying to build. I've been using it for content and like podcast ideation. So from that perspective, it's been fairly easy because I kind of know exactly what I'm looking for and I can go and find the outputs. If I was starting a business from scratch, like we were just talking about, the slide deck generator, I would probably have to go and find just 5 slide decks that I think look really good. I don't know where I would go and look.
So then the key is to say, all right, look at these 5 slide decks. Mm-hmm. Give me a prompt that would produce something that looks like these 5.
Yeah. And again, back to what we were originally talking about, it may not even give you a good output, but it'll at least start you down the road of messing around with this. So you're going to see the next steps actually build on this. So then he goes to a new chat and it says, generate a detailed prompt evaluation guide. The audience is graphic designer. So what it's telling that LLM is basically, help me audit a prompt and give me a guide that I can use to audit that prompt. He then takes that, what it's created, and he pastes it into the original prompt. And then he tells it, generate 3 improved alternative prompts based on this, based on the evaluation of the prompt. And then he picks the best one. So effectively what he's doing is he's like getting the LLMs to massage it to a point where he likes it and it makes sense. Now, there were some comments on this that I thought were hilarious. One guy, he was like, I honestly thought of that guy who you love on Instagram, who's always making fun of the business gurus. And the quote was like, and then what I do is I write a prompt that asks it to evaluate the prompting that I wrote in order to evaluate the prompt that evaluates prompts. It was like, wait, what the freak? So he does get pretty meta here, but you're using the LLMs to leverage your time and get you to the place where you can actually create these prompts really quickly.
I'm so excited to use this. This is perfect.
I know, it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah. I've heard about asking the LLM what to ask it. Like, all right, here's what I want. Here's what I'm looking for. I want to make a delicious tomato salad. What should be the prompt I give you to give me the best output possible? That's like level 1. And this is like level 7 of that.
There are 2 things that I can remember that have been like, oh, that's genius and always have stuck with me when it comes to AI. One of them you gave me, which was remember this. When you're working on a thread and it tells you something or it spits something out and you're like, hey, remember this? Makes a mental note. The other one is this. It's like, okay, I like this graphic design or I like this ad copy. What's a prompt that you would have written in order to get this output? Like that to me is genius because you are reverse engineering. And that's effectively what we're trying to do anyways when we see stuff that we're trying to copy.
Oh, that's gold. It's gold, Jerry. All right. What do you know about Perplexity Labs?
I know a lot, but assume I know nothing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Because I know a lot, but I know our audience doesn't.
Yep. So I didn't know much about it until earlier. I've been playing with it quite a bit. You do have to have the $20 a month Perplexity plan. But at first I was like, oh, this is just deep research. Like Perplexity already had deep research. It was fine. This is just more deep research. No. So here's how Perplexity is different from deep research. So let's say I want to know the market landscape of all the keto apps out there. I want to build a keto app and I want to know how profitable are the ones that already exist? What's their cost per acquisition if they're using Facebook ads? How many downloads do the top 5 keto apps get? I want to know all this stuff. I'm going to go to deep research either on Perplexity or on ChatGPT and give it that prompt. And it's about 10 minutes later, it's going to give me thousands of words with like a really thorough output. Here's what Perplexity Labs does. I just prompted this and my prompt was build an interactive chart showing the correlation between sourdough baking and RV traveling in a post-COVID world. I don't know why. That's all I can think of. So it gives you like multimedia. It gives you the information you're looking for in different ways. It will use charts. It will use PDFs that you can download where appropriate. It's kind of the difference between having an intern go do a little research for you and sending you a memo, and then having a 6-figure employee that's like a researcher going out and spending weeks aggregating all this data, knowing when to use a chart, when to use text, when to use pictures, when to use a PDF. That's kind of the difference between Perplexity Labs.
So what we're looking at, if you can't see this right now, is there's an interactive chart. What's on the X and Y axis?
Sourdough market size in millions.
Okay.
And then time period. Yeah. And then market size and RV shipments in thousands. So RV shipments in thousands is over here.
Oh, so I'm assuming that the red is RV shipments?
Yes.
So that's seasonal, basically?
Yep.
Interesting.
Goes up in the summer.
And so you asked if they were correlated. Does it say it's correlated?
Yep. It's negative 0.004. Weak negative correlation suggests inverse relationship during certain periods.
Interesting, dude. It gives you the chart so you can visualize it, but then it actually gives you a write-up.
Yeah. Like
Holy crap.
And here's a non-interactive chart showing the same thing.
But these are proprietary charts. These are not like they went and scraped the web and found some Yahoo who made this and posted it.
It made these, yeah. I think it just took raw data from the web and made these itself. And look, here's a PDF or a CSV I can download. So sometimes it gives you a CSV, PDF, whatever you want. With sources on everything. So how do we use this? How do we make money on this?
Gotta make money on this. Gotta figure out how to make money on this. I mean, to me, it just goes back to this allows you to leverage your time even more. As companies get bigger and they have more resources, they can throw more resources at smaller problems. So this would be an example of a smaller problem. It's like in the past, I'm growing a company. I need to do all of this research. But you, Chris Kerner, as you're doing all the market research, you're kind of like internalizing all of this stuff, right? You're looking at different websites, you're reading different blog posts, whatever, you're reading different charts. This gets you all the information that you would have otherwise gone out and just surfed the web for quickly in a format that you can digest. So to me, it would be a business built around servicing decision makers, people who have high leverage positions that are making decisions all day. And that's kind of where you get to as you grow your businesses.
Dude, like look at this prompt result asking about the keto app market. It's all right here. All the iOS ratings, the annual price, how many weekly downloads, weekly revenue, active users, and it has 37 different sources for this data. Like, this is crazy. This would be like if I got in this ideation frenzy late at night, as I often do, and I really wanted to launch this keto app, I would stay up all night, like just doing this research that it did for me in 11 minutes.
Okay, here's a lead magnet I think would be really cool. Digital agencies, they could be doing anything. They could be doing automation. They could be doing AI implementation within a company. They could be digital marketing, graphic design, anything. If they use this and they generated a report for every company that's on their list, because every one of these businesses has like an ideal customer. And let's just say your ideal customer is importers of pastel fabrics. I don't even know. You generate that report one time and you email it to them as a lead magnet to get your foot in the door. So then it spurs the next conversation. because you're giving them something of real value where it's like, hey, next year, these are the projected, I guess, I don't even know, tastes that are going to be in the pastel market. I know you make these decisions every single year around this time. Hopefully this helps you. The automation guys at automationlabs.com, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to read that. They're going to see that. You can track whether or not they open it. And then you can easily follow up with them next day, next week, whenever. But it's a really cool lead magnet that's really valuable. We talked about this before. Ibis World, where I worked, they're charging $2,000 reports. That's a $2,000 report potentially right there that you can just use as a lead magnet now. As a lead magnet. Think about that.
Yeah, I know. Like if you're a consultant, like how big of retainers could you get by leading with something like this?
Dude, any business that wants a customer, name a business that's B2B.
HVAC supply.
Cool. HVAC supply. I'm an HVAC supply company and I'm looking for HVAC business owners. Why don't you just send an industry report for their specific market to every single HVAC owner? Hey.
Yeah, it pulls in real estate data.
Yeah.
It pulls in, yeah.
Yeah. Here's where the growth trends are of your market overall. Here's the age of properties in your market. Here's the, I don't know, typical home value. Here's the supply, whatever. It gives like the whole entire thing. Thought you might like this for your market. Hope you enjoy. Let me know if you have any questions. You're just like giving value to them right away. And who are they going to call the next time? Well, I mean, not necessarily everybody's going to call, but just in terms of a lead magnet and building trust with people, that would be phenomenal in B2B sales. Any B2B sale. That's a freaking cool idea.
That's a freaking great idea.
All right. Hopefully you liked that episode. And if you've made it this far, you're either really committed or you're stuck doing yard work and you can't actually skip on your phone. So while I have you, the show is growing, but I have a favor to ask of you. Will you please help me grow the show? I want to reach more people. There's a couple things that you can do. Like and subscribe is the simplest thing. Obviously, you want to get notifications for when the next episode is coming out. But if you go the next step, will you leave me a review? 5-star on Spotify or Apple. What that does is it tells the algorithm that, oh, hey, this is a high value podcast because more people are leaving reviews for it, and it then pushes it out to more people. So that's why when people are like, will you like and subscribe and put a 5-star rating? It's not just to make themselves feel better. It's actually to get more exposure for the show. So if you do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.